What year did you leave Kasota?
1930.
What year did you meet him?
Oh God, I don't know. Well, it was when they bought the store over there. After they bought the store. Well, I didn't live there then, though.
On Fuller?
Yeah. I didn't live there then, though. Because I lived with Dorothy over on Grand Avenue.
Where'd you first meet him?
When they had the store over there on Fuller and Chatsworth.
He was working in the store?
He was. I didn't.
Yeah, but that's how you met him?
Yeah.
You went in the store?
Yeah.
Who?
When she met you?
I picked her up in a corner one morning. Took her downtown.
You have a car?
Boy,
He was going down to the market. And I was waiting for the
waiting
streetcar.
For a streetcar.
So you give me a ride down
if I
Fuller.
had it, you know, I didn't have anything up here.
You what?
I didn't have anything up here.
Hair? Or brains?
I let the streetcar pass.
The streetcar never came. That I know of, I don't know.
No, I'm just kidding.
You had a car?
Yeah, he was going
Oh,
down
yeah.
to the market to get
Go
stuff,
down to the market.
to pick up groceries for the store. So they'd have some stuff. He usually went down to the market for vegetables and stuff.
And then she used to walk home with, what was her name? She lived on Dale Street.
Old Marge Dickey.
That was your friend Marge?
I worked with her.
Where at?
I didn't have any real close friends down here.
Where'd you work at?
Web publishing.
$12 a week.
Yeah, big deal. And I used to have more fun when I was a kid. And then I was working then though, but then I'd go home for vacations. We go fishing.
How often did you go back to Kasota?
Oh, well, we used to go down all the holidays. Because Uncle Charlie had a car.
She lived in a car like that.
And that was before Carl got his. And then we'd go down there for all the holidays and birthdays and everything he would drive down. And my grandma and grandpa were still living too, down in Kasota.
What street did you live on here?
We didn't have any streets.
No, here. When you first came up here.
We lived on Grand Avenue.
You live with Carl?
Dorothy came first. And then Carl came down. And she was living on Grand Avenue. And then he came down, then I came down. And well, then we lived some other places too. Well, she came down first with a friend of hers, and they lived together. That was before Carl and I even got out of high school. So, she went to school in Mankato, the business college.
Then you moved in with her?
So did Carl. We all lived together.
When did he meet Gladys?
He worked at U.S. Bedding. That's where he met her.
He met her
I
at,
can't use this.
he met her at U.S. Bedding?
Yeah, that's where they both worked.
What year did they get married?
They got married in 1930, I think. Yeah, they got married in 1930.
Did you live with them then?
No. Well, they had a room downstairs.
We lived in the same place?
Yeah.
Same building?
And they had one room downstairs, and then we all ate together.
How far out Grand?
600.
That before Dale then?
I can't
Just
even think
before
of his
Dale.
name now.
Okay.
About a half a block before Dale. No, I don't know. And we lived over on Charles. Carl and Gladys had another place then. And then we lived over on Charles. And where else did we live? I don't know. I can't remember. Oh, we lived on Aurora. I can't remember whatever else he lived.
You and Dorothy?
Yeah. We both worked at the same place. She worked downstairs and I worked upstairs.
Then you got married in 1940?
No, 39.
39. You dated for 9 years.
No, I didn't know him when I came down here.
What year did you meet him?
Well, I don't know. It was after he went to Ireland.
You started working at the store?
No, I left Webb before that. I was working for Glendenning Motor Freight because they closed up the women's magazine at Webb, and then we were all out of a job. So then all they printed then was the farmer. They didn't print the farmer's wife then. So
How long were you out of work?
She worked with a bunch of farmers.
well, I stayed there until I got another job.
Okay.
They let us stay there.
This was during the Depression, right?
So they closed up.
When was the Depression? 1929, 1930. Yeah.
You always had a job.
Yeah, I don't think I was ever out.
How bad was it here?
It was pretty bad. Because my mother, my dad, my kid brother Bob was still in high school. I was making $12 a week, and I was living with Carl and Gladys then on Aurora. And Dorothy was in Washington. She
D.C.?
got a job in Washington, D.C.
Oh.
And so then I was living with Carl and Gladys. And then,
Damn it.
well, what was I talking about? And I paid Carl and Gladys $5 a week, room and board. And my kid brother, Bob, had to go to the dentist. So he went to the dentist. I paid his dentist bill on the rest of what I had. And then he was graduating from high school, so I bought him a suit so he could graduate from high school. And then he got, he went 1 year to GA, Gustavus Adolphus in St. Peter, because he got some money from, I think he was salutatorian in school, in high school, and he got some money. So he went 1 year, and then he and my dad at that time was not working. So my mother would buy a nickel's worth of beefsteak, and she would give Bob the meat. And then my dad and my mother would have potatoes with the gravy. And it was rough. But he had a garden. He grew potatoes and beets and carrots and onions. And I don't think they didn't have any Social Security or anything either. Oh, he got a little check, I think every month on for some welfare or something. I don't know what they call it. They call it welfare, but I don't know what they call it. Well, I didn't have any money. I couldn't help him. Dorothy was in Washington. I don't think she sent him any money. And Carl was married, and then he lost his job.
Carl did?
Yeah. So he wasn't working either. She was working, but he wasn't.
Your dad worked in the quarries?
He worked in the sawmill.
The sawmill.
Where they cut the slabs.
How long was he out of work? How many years?
I don't think he ever went back. And then Bob went to, Bob went into CCC. I don't know if you know anything about that. I don't know what it was. He went into that.
Civilian Conservation Corps.
Yeah. And then that helped my dad and mother.
So you quit school to go in CCC?
No. He didn't quit school to go into that. Well, he couldn't go on to college because there was no money. So he went into that, and then they would send my dad and mother money. They would give him money, but then they would send my dad and mother money, because he was in there. Then, well, I don't don't know how old he could have been then, because, but then they were all, everybody was being drafted. So then he was called, along with a bunch of others in town. I don't remember when he went.
This is in
I know
probably 42.
he was killed, yeah. I know he was killed in 1945.
45 was what month?
May. And then of course that took care of my mother and dad, because they got his Social Security, and then they had a lien on the house that they lived in on account of him getting this welfare. So that they, after Bob died, they got his insurance, everything was in my mother's name, and they got his insurance, and they got back pay and Social Security and everything else. So they paid up the welfare, what they had gotten from them, and they got the house back.
And then your dad didn't have to go back to work?
No, well he wasn't, God, he was old then.
He was over 70?
Oh, yes. He had to be. Well, my dad was 80-something when he died.
And that was in the 50s?
Hmm?
Was that in 1952?
Well, let's see, did he die before Grandma McElhone? Grandma McElhone died in 1950. I don't know when Grandpa died, when Dad died. He died before my mother. I think he must have been about 84 or 5 when he died. And he must have had to quit work when he was in his 60s, maybe 70s. I don't know what that. Well, he wasn't fit to do any of that heavy work anymore. Then they closed up the mill. They were making something else. They weren't cutting stone anymore. And they weren't digging in the quarries there anymore because they were they couldn't get any more out of it. They moved out in the outskirts then to get the stone. So.
What was it like up here in the Depression?
Well, I don't know. I was working at the Web. Like I say, I was making $12 a week. Couldn't do much with that.
A lot of homeless people? Okay. That was before I was born.
Yeah. Mark was the only one. I don't think Lynn was born yet. But then when Dorothy died, we didn't take any, nobody went down to the funeral. None of you kids. Oh, Leanne was born though. So Jeff must have been born.
Leanne's 28.
Because my mother always said about Leanne, the one without the leg. Because see, she had her leg in a cast because she had that congenital hip. And she always said that the one without the leg, that's the way she remembered Leanne. So Leanne was, so Jeff must have been born then too.
I think it was just after he was born. 66.
She died in November.
He was probably 6 months old.
Yeah, and Dorothy died the year before. And that's why Ma came down to stay with us. Or she came down here to stay with us before Dorothy died, because Dorothy was going to go out to Seattle to be with Tom. But she was having a little problem, little mental problem.
Was she still married then?
No, that marriage didn't last at all.
She had one son?
Yeah,
That's it? One?
yeah,
That's Tommy.
yeah.
Where's your mother buried? In Kasota?
In Kasota. They're all up there. Dorothy is too. And Bob's out in Fort Snelling.